How's it going, everybody? You're tuned into the first episode of Tales of Triumph. I got my brother here with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
How you doing? My name is Will. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. 29 years old. And let's get this shit going.
Hell yeah, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you.
Hell
How
yeah.
you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm great. I'm doing great. I'm really happy to have you on here today because I know. Well, first off, ladies and gentlemen,
Happy to be
we've
here.
been through thick and thin together, so I know this man's story is phenomenal in great ways and bad ways, and he's just got an amazing story. You know, so that's the reason why he's here today. But what do you do for a living, man?
So what I do for a living is I'm a pipe fitter. It's pretty basic. I'm not in the union or anything, but I pretty much piped everything from fire sprinkler systems to petroleum systems, you know, anything from gas stations, aviation systems, jet fuel systems, underground, above ground, fiberglass pipe, steel pipe, plastic pipe, everything, you know. So I've been pretty much doing that for about 5 years now. It's going pretty good. It's going all right.
Oh yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. You're from Vegas?
Born
right?
and raised.
Born and
Yep.
raised.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Me too. What side of town did you grow up on?
I bounced back and forth from the east and the west. Started on the west, went to the east, back to the west. And when I say west, I'm not talking like historic west. You know, I'm not talking about letter streets or anything like that. I'm talking about like, you know, 95 in Decatur.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say east, I'm not talking about number streets, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking far east. I'm talking, you know, Nellis, Charleston. My grandma lived up on Decatur in the 95. My parents lived on Nellis and Charleston. So,
Hell yeah.
you know, right now I'm back on the east side, but I'm northeast now. So
It's hard to find people that are born and raised here in Vegas. I think the stats are like maybe 4% of adults 18 years of age or older are actually born and raised to everybody else from somewhere else.
right. Yep.
How was it growing up in Vegas?
I mean, I don't want to say it's different because this is all I know, but you know, I've been to about 15 different states, and there ain't nothing like Vegas.
Right.
So, I mean, the convenience, you know, it's a 24-hour city, you know. Nothing shuts down over here. Nothing stops, you know. I was born at UMC Hospital.
Okay.
And, you know, my family, you know, we weren't wealthy by any means. You know, we started off as middle class, and then when the recession hit in 2008-ish, that's when, you know, everybody lost their jobs, and it got pretty rough, you know what I mean? And at that point, just like I said, I'm 29 years old, so when the recession hit, I was 12, 13 years old. You know, and then, you know, my pops, you know, I grew up, as a kid, I grew up pretty normal, you know what I mean? Like, even though we didn't have it all, but I grew up pretty normal. You know, I had a good mom, a good dad. And then, you know, it's like when the recession hit, everybody lost their mind, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then, I don't know if my dad felt like less of a man because he couldn't provide or what happened there, but he kind of lost his mind, you know what I mean? Started indulging into certain activities to where he couldn't really be there to provide for us anymore. And, you know, he kind of did his own thing. And it was pretty much just my brothers, my mom, my nephews, my nieces, you know what I mean? And it got pretty rough around then, you know what I mean? It got pretty rough because, you know, we went from middle class to just poor.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, how it was like growing up in Vegas, it wasn't glamorous. It's not what you see on the TVs, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, yeah.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah, no, myself, I've lived all over Las Vegas, man, and I've had good times and bad times, but like you said, there's nothing quite like Vegas. But one thing I do know about that runs through this city more than anything is the lies and the bullshit. Nothing against the city of Las Vegas, because I love my city, but I'm here to talk about the bullshit from the day-to-day life in Vegas and how to necessarily not exactly lie to yourself every damn day, like we all tend to do all the time. So I guess the next question would have to be is, do you have a point of view or a story that you'd like to share about something you might have went through, or an instance where you found yourself bullshitting yourself because of all the bullshit around you and how you got out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got a story to share. And, you know, I bullshit myself my whole life. You know what I mean? And that's just keeping it real, because, you know, I feel like everybody bullshits themselves. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't like to take accountability. You know, a lot of people like to take their problems and make other, you know, people or entities responsible for them. You know what I mean? And everybody has a rough life. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody how bad I had my life, because, you know, compared to a lot of people, I had a decent life. But, you know, there was, you know, hard times and there was struggles. I mean, there was times where I've lived with no electricity, no gas, you know, cold showers in the wintertime. You know what I mean? You know, there was a point in time in my life where all of my male figures in my life were absent, whether being incarcerated or just, you know, not there mentally. And I can't say that I was the man of the house, because I was a little boy, you know what I mean? But, you know, at 16, 17, there was a point where I was the one responsible for my nephews, my nieces, my mom, my little brother, you know what I mean?
As it goes sometimes.
With no electricity in the house. You know, and to touch on that a little bit, you know, there's a great deal of my family that are felons. So nobody's really had it figured out. I don't even have it figured out still. I am in the right direction, you know, as far as taking accountability for myself, you know, taking accountability for, you know, what I can and can't improve, you know what I mean? But, you know, I mean, there's just so much to it. And, you know, especially the main thing that I want to get to is when you take accountability for yourself, that's when your life will get better. You know what I mean? Because everybody's life is hard in their own instance. And a lot of people handle pressure, you know, different than other people. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody's unique to their own situation. You know what I mean? What else can I say?
No, I love it, man. I love it. That's one thing very few people do nowadays, no matter where you're at. Vegas, Europe, doesn't matter where you're at. To me, I've been out of the country, in the country. I've been to 40 out of these 50 states minimum. You know what I mean? And everywhere I go, I always seem to find the people that always want to lie to themselves, you know, put themselves through the bullshit, whether because somebody else told them that, you know, as the cliche goes, you ain't gonna be shit, you know, you'll never do this, or you're doing this the wrong way. And then you look at those types of people, right? And it's like, oh, well, what you're telling me I can't do, you ain't never even done before. Right. And when I see those types of people not ask those questions or pay attention to those aspects, right, of the people who have a manipulating control over their life, whether how small or how big, it really bothers me a lot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's part of the reason why I have this podcast, you know, is to try and shed some light on people and the importance of what it is to tell the truth to yourself. Right. Because the only thing that you can't run from is yourself. You know what I mean?
And that's where it all starts, is at home.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly, right. Which is why I wanted to kind of get a little bit of your background. So, you know, the majority of my friends kind of grew up the same way you did. You know what I mean? And every single one of them have this problem. You know, not to name drop anybody, but those of you who are watching, you know who you are. You know, I've always been there to help once I got myself out of that bullshit circle, because trust me, I was in it too. You know, I can't hide from that. But I mean, the question is how do we reach a massive audience? You know what I mean? Make the world understand that it starts with you and it ends with you, because it's your life. You know what I mean?
You know, a big thing is a lot of people have to have a purpose. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't really have a purpose, then you're kind of just like drifting, you know, you're kind of just like drifting through life, not knowing what's next, not knowing what's tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really have a purpose, and it's kind of cliche, but, you know, when I started having babies, I got 3 kids. I got 2 girls and a boy. So once you start having babies, not all people experience that, but a lot of people experience this type of feeling where it's like, okay, well, now I'm responsible for something. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people can go through life and not be responsible for anything.
Right.
So it's like, you know, if you're responsible, like whatever it is. Like, I got a buddy, he has no kids, but he has 2 dogs. And the dude's responsible for 2 dogs.
Right.
So now he's home on time. You know what I mean? He's not going out and dicking off his money, and, you know, he's has a responsibility. You know what I mean? And that's kind of basic. You know, a lot of people, they just need a purpose to really get through. And, you know, without that purpose, a lot of people are just lost. You know, and being accountable for that purpose, you know. You know, I like my teenage years, my early 20s, you know, I still out dicking off, you know, doing drugs, running the streets, you know, just trying to, I guess, find something to ease the pain. You know, there's an excuse for everything. You know what I mean? Oh, I had a hard life, so I can do this. Or, you know, so-and-so wasn't there, so, you know what I mean? That's why I messed up, or blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Do you think you were searching for something to ease the pain because you were trying to hide from the pain of not knowing who you were, or just of your environment?
I mean, I can't pinpoint that, but I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, you know, I kind of, you know, I was lost in the sense of not really knowing what direction I'm going. You know what I mean? Like,
that purpose point.
Exactly. You know, it's like I'm kind of just living day by day by, like, you know, I wake up, I do what I want, you know. And as far as like the drugs, it's like, all right, well, I'm already in this deep. You know, it's kind of that mentality, like, it's too late to turn to Christ, you know, type deal. You've heard that saying before. It's like, and it's really not. You know what I mean? As long as you can find a purpose, you can always change your life.
Right.
You know, you can always change your direction. You know what I mean? You just gotta plant that seed. You know, there's like, you know who Earl Nightingale is? So Earl Nightingale says, your mind is like fertile ground. It's like land, right? And whatever you plant, it'll grow. You plant poison in your brain, it's gonna grow. You know what I mean? If you plant flowers and an abundance of vegetables, it's gonna grow. You know what I mean? And it's really all perspective, and, you know, it's really what you feed your brain is what you're gonna, you know, what your outcome's gonna be. You know, and a lot of people get stuck in the process of just feeding their brain negative energy all the time. You know what I mean? And then they kind of like, because it's like one branch leads to another. You know what I mean? So once you just look for that one good outlet or that one good branch, you know, you can keep it going. It's like one step at a time. You know what I mean? No matter where you come from, man, you can't just jump out and just change your life in one day. It's always baby steps.
Right.
I still don't got it figured out. You know what I mean? I don't drink and smoke and party and all that BS anymore. I live a pretty basic life. I go to work. You know, I pay my bills. I go home. I spend the time with my family. You know what I mean? And I've earned that. You know what I mean? God bless him for sticking by my side for this long.
Right.
You know? But it's like once I started taking accountability for myself, that's when my life started getting better. You know, once I started putting the better thoughts in my mind, that's when my life started getting better. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. You know, we're born into this world all the same, naked and afraid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people, a lot of people can't take accountability for themselves. They have to have somebody taking accountability for them. You know what I mean? And if that's what you need to get through, then that's totally fine. You know what I mean? Like some people can't just sit there and brainstorm and just say, okay, you know what? Today's the day I take accountability. Some people need that accountability partner. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like, because like my whole life, I hate disappointing people. Right? So when somebody's disappointed in me, I mean, it hurts. I don't like having people disappointed in me. So when I tell somebody I'm going to show up to somewhere, I try my best to do that.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, I do that. You know what I mean? Because now somebody's holding me accountable.
Right.
I got the pressure on me. And it's like, when you hold yourself accountable, it's so easy to just fuck off, you know? It's so easy to just, like, I can tell myself, I'm going to eat better tomorrow. And then I don't.
Because you didn't start today.
Well, it's just because, like, you know, holding yourself accountable versus somebody holding you accountable.
Right.
Right? So, like, you know who really holds me accountable is my kids and my wife. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is a big reason why I had to change my life, you know? You know, I had kids and a wife, and I was still drinking and smoking every day and doing dumb shit, you know, going out, kicking it, running the streets.
So even after you had your kids, it wasn't an overnight thing. It still had baby steps to be taken, and it took you a while.
I mean, you know, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And, you know, even when my wife was pregnant, you know, with our first kid, I was a bad influence on her. And then my second kid come. And I still don't got it together, but, you know, it's kind of like there's a spark in you where you start looking at these babies and then they start growing and you're just like, when is the time to change? And then they're looking at you like, when is the time to change?
Right.
So then now I have people holding me accountable for my actions. I guess it's time to change, right? You know, so that's why I say a lot of people need a purpose. You know, there's a lot of single middle-aged males or single males in their prime that really just don't have that responsibility to just want to do good, you know, and I'm not saying they can't find that. I'm not saying somebody has to hold you accountable, but it's a lot easier when you find something to really, you know, live for. You know what I mean?
So, do you have some form of advice for, say, somebody who doesn't really have that motivating factor in their life, that role model that is surrounded by all the bullshit and the manipulation and the you can't do that's and you can't do thises and, you know what I mean, that really just doesn't have that direction of how or where to go, you know what I mean, to get to that purposeful point? Would you have any advice for how they would get there?
Yeah.
Or at least start?
I mean, at least start is whatever situation you're in now, try to find an outlet to get out of that. Maybe if you're surrounded by people that have that negative energy or negative thought, maybe you should try to find positive people. You know, maybe see what it took for me, because, you know, when I was a kid, you know, obviously we were lower class. So what comes with that? You know, crime and violence and, you know, just negativity. You know, everybody's in the same place. Oh, running the streets, blah, blah, blah. You know, I got into a crowd to where everybody surrounding me was involved in, you know, just negligence. You know how it is. You go through the neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood, and you're so cool until you're not in the neighborhood. And then everybody's like, what the fuck? You bounce out of the neighborhood. What's the deal?
Right.
Oh, you don't love us no more. Well, what if I'm just trying to run from the people that are putting guns and drugs in my hands?
Right. So where did you go to find these more positive people? Where was the where was the place that you first found this new group, per se, that started putting you on the right path?
Well, really, I would say that group found me. You know, God blessed me. And, you know, I've always had a sense of, like, survival remorse,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because all my peers are felons. All my peers have done stints. You know, they're either not here no more. You know, you're talking, they're either strung out, maybe overdosed, maybe whatever happened to them.
Right.
And I've always had a sense of, like, survivor's remorse, because when the short answer to your question is my wife, right? Because I had met her through somebody, and we started kicking it. And you know what happened when we started kicking it? We, like, went to Applebee's and, like, went up to the view and just, like, looked at lights and just, like, did normal shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm still in this mind state of, like, maybe I'll be standing out front of her house and shit, and I'll, like, look at the neighbor and be like, oh, damn, that looks like a lick, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, fuck are you talking about, bro? It's where I live.
Right.
What are you talking about? And what's normal to me might not be normal to other people. You know what I mean? So it's like, instead of running the streets, I'm over here kicking it with her because I enjoyed kicking it with her. I enjoyed the positivity in my life, something that was kind of new to me. You know what I mean? And, you know, it wasn't really new to me because, you know, like my grandma, my mom, they're positive and stuff. But, you know, when it's people like that, you're kind of just like, all right, stop, Mom. I get it. I shouldn't kick it with them.
Right.
I get it. But, like, when it's an outside source, because, you know, a prophet is never a prophet in its own land. A prophet got to go to somebody else's land to actually be recognized as that, because otherwise they're like, oh, little Will from the neighborhood. Shut up. What are you talking about? Bro, you little Will from the neighborhood, bro. Like, calm down. But, you know, then at that point, you know, your story doesn't really reach people because, you know, it's kind of, I don't know if they're just used to it or, I don't know. But the reason why I brought that up is because, you know, now I'm kicking it with my wife and her family. You know, like, we're doing regular things, going out to dinner. We'll go see, like, a movie. And I go back to the neighborhood, and it's just like this cloud over me. And it's just like, hey, bro, what's up? You want to bump? You want to hit the stick? What? You know, and it's like, not really. You know? So it's like, once I found that outlet, something that was normal to me, you know, you usually roll up to the neighborhood and I hit the stick and you get wet with everybody. Right. You know what I mean? Now, like, you got out of that environment and you start actually seeing what's out there. You see that there's other purpose. You see that there's other opportunity. So my advice to people would be like, hey, you know, maybe you should explore. Maybe you should go see what else is out there for you to indulge in. Because if you're stuck in the same rut, you know, it's like the definition of insanity, right? Mm-hmm. You know, doing the same thing over and over again drives you insane. Expecting a different outcome. Yeah. That's what I forgot to add. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome would drive you insane. So it's like, if you're stuck in a rut, whatever the case may be, maybe you should just switch up the recipe and try to do something different. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And you know what that's going to take, ladies and gentlemen? It's going to take you sitting down and using this. Just like a little bit.
I didn't even notice that. I like
that.
That.
That's my thinking, man.
That's nice.
I leave it up there to remind people that sometimes that's what you got to do.
And absolutely. and you know, I would encourage people to read this book. It's called Outwitting the Devil. Okay.
Do you have the author's name?
Yeah, it's Napoleon Hill, of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Napoleon Hill, he's genius.
Yeah.
In that book is a Q&A book. So it's like a narrator and what he's doing. So Outwitting the Devil. It's pretty much like an interview with the devil, right?
Okay.
And what he does is he asks the devil questions and the devil answers them.
Okay.
Okay. And it's a Q&A book all throughout the book. Okay. And, you know, it's kind of all perspective because he asks him one question and the devil answers. And one of the answers from the devil, because the question was, what's wrong with man today? And the devil says, well, what's wrong with man today is they simply don't think. They simply don't think. And, you know, society as a whole does a good job of that because, you know, they can put something in front of your face to keep you occupied, whether it's the television, cell phone, social media. And, you know, and one thing that's terrible about social media is people tend to only post the good part of their life. Right? So people are like scrolling on social media and they're seeing how great everybody else's life is, but like they're not trying to post the argument that they had with their wife 3 minutes ago. You know what I mean? They're posting this great lobster and steak dinner that they just had.
Right. I can't stand that about social media. I mean, if everybody understood that everyone goes through hardships and that you don't have to base how you're supposed to feel off of how good you think everybody else is always feeling, I mean, you could utilize social media, but if you're that kind of person...
I mean, it almost turns into competition.
Right, yeah. If you're that type of person that takes that kind of information and ruins yourself with it, maybe you shouldn't be using social media.
Right, you know? So...
But we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for coming in here, bro.
Absolutely.
You had some really great advice. I love the story. We're all in this boat together, and we all got to do everything we can to try and help each other. Is there any shout outs you want to give to anybody you want to thank for being here, anything like that?
Absolutely. I want to thank my wife, my kids, you know, my mom, her parents, you know, my dad, rest in peace, you know, and my friends know who I am. You know, I don't have social media. I don't have Facebook, none of that, you know. And if you have my number and you can call me directly, you know, mad love. You know, so it's like, that's a big
He also has a store, ladies and gentlemen, an online store. I'll put the link at the bottom in the comments or somewhere in the description. Check out my boy, man. You know, he's out here trying to live his best life, take care of his kids. And if you'd like to support a local business owner, you know, here in Las Vegas, hit him up, see what he's got. You know, local house-made products, right? You got house-made products and all that good stuff?
That's right. And also, we got a cosmetology store, and that's my wife's doing. You know, she's a licensed cosmetologist, and she's got plenty of products. So, yeah, check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, like I said, thank you again, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
Very good pleasure, bro.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. And we out.